Okay, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yeah, bro. So I noticed that you have jumped on the money making bandwagon. Well,
Bandwagon. You say
not
that like I don't pay
bandwagon.
the bills every day.
No. I mean, I just noticed you promoting your design services.
Yeah.
Mentoring, mentorship. What would you call that?
I haven't actually. Well, it's because I'm getting a lot more curious cat questions than I used to. And I also get people asking questions to answer stuff I hadn't answered yet. You know, I was like, well, I haven't got time for this. And if you really value my opinion, then you
Hmm.
can pay for it.
Yeah.
It's just make it worthwhile for both of us because I haven't got time to answer a lot of them, and I keep getting these like comments that are like, "Oh,
Hmm.
you're skipping my stuff or you're answering my stuff," and I'm very what's the word? I'm very clear that I'm not going into no fatwa territory with any of this stuff. There are a lot of questions I want to answer because it's not my place to answer such things. Halal,
Hmm.
haram. Like someone asked me yesterday, is it halal? Is it considered suicide to stop taking cancer treatment? And I was like, hey, who do you think I am?
Hmm.
you know? Um, so stuff like that. But there's certain things that are like people trying to get married and um, don't really know what to do or how to approach it. And we're encroaching that territory now, aren't we? Of like being married a while and have a lot of experience in this kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
some people need, big brother advice in that regard. Um, so yeah, it is. I haven't actually promoted it too much that side of things. If anyone does want to do something like that, inquire me and I'll send you a link. Um, but yeah, in terms of because I've been doing graphic design for years, uh, and I do Pure XI on and off for the last 10 years actually, since
Oh,
2014 it
that long,
launched.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and other stuff like that in the background. Like Pure XI hasn't been my only sort of clothing endeavor in that regards. I did do some stuff in the background which was quite successful, but I never really promoted it to the Muslim audience, so to speak. Um, or at least actual audience. I helped a few people with some websites. I helped a lot of people with graphic design, and I thought, oh, I should really put a portfolio together, which is what I've done. Tweet.com, and yeah, it neatly puts everything in one place, doesn't it? So anyone wants any work, they can inquire that way. There's been a lot of interest, so it's been keeping me busy. Um, it's easier having a website actually and being able to schedule calls with clients and stuff, as opposed to what it was before. It was very sporadic. Like people get emailing me through Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Um, yeah, and I just want to be busy, bro. Which I am at the moment now. Um, but yeah, focusing everything in one place.
Hmm.
I think you liked the website, didn't you?
I did, yeah, I did. And you're right. It's like
Yeah, man.
one place to, in some ways, an Instagram profile is enough, like as a website, or a Twitter profile is enough as a website. But obviously, this is good as well. There's something obviously superior about a proper website with a proper portfolio. But it's pretty cool what people can get away with just a profile on whatever social platform.
Yeah.
So bro, like those wallpapers you had and the posters you had. Has that been like available this whole time, or did you take that down? Assalamu alaikum. A few years ago, the conversation about masculinity and Islam popped up. And of course, I took a big interest in that. And some of you might know that I actually wrote a whole book on Islamic masculinity. I went to the Quran, I went to the Sunnah, I filtered out the red pill, I filtered out the feminism, and I came down to what a good Muslim man looks like. It's a really good book with tons of stories and examples from the Sahaba, from the Prophet ﷺ, from the other prophets of how to be a good Muslim man. It's entertaining, it's not too long, and I'm offering you the free first chapter. If you click the description below, then I will send that over to you. And then if you want to get the full book, you can get the full book. We also have the audio version. So check it out. See you around. It's called The Shepherd's Way.
No, no, I took that down maybe a year or two ago. Um, I had it on a Redbubble like third party application, and then some of it was under Pure XI being sold. I can't recall my reasoning. I think when I was like, so I was in the process of like moving to Tunisia, so I had to shut a lot of things down to kind of start up again. But then that got delayed, and I never brought anything back. I might incorporate that stuff into the website I've got at the moment,
Hmm.
um, for sales there. But I'm so busy with like, because I'm learning a lot of skills at the same time. So I'm busy with that, busy with another day job, that I don't have too much time for stuff outside of client work to do my own stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a learning process. But I'm trying to learn more and more skills. So like web design is one that I've been doing for like a year. As in, I built websites in like 2014 onwards. But like in terms of professional web design for clients, that's something I've really been trying to focus on honing my skills. Because before it was just graphic design and maybe some branding experience. And I realized, well, if I can add web design onto that, then I've got a really good package for um, for the whole thing. Like I had someone inquire me yesterday who essentially starting a business pretty much from scratch. He sells a product in person to people. He's got an Instagram page that doesn't actually have any posts on it. Like he's got a logo, he's got the name, that's it. He might have some product photos, I don't know. Um, but with that, I can do a lot of graphic design work, build the entire website, do a lot of branding work as well. So, that comes with marketing, that comes with, the theme of the entire, the brand, essentially building the entire brand, not just from a logo, but the ethos of the brand, what it's about, that kind of thing, and deliver that whole package. And I think that's really important for brands. It's really important for small businesses that have never really delved into that kind of arena. Um, and I've got that experience that I can provide. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people have experiences that they might you know they might be able to deliver individually, but not realizing they could actually group it all together and deliver an
Hmm.
entire package,
Yeah.
um, which is really important. And there's a lot of people with skills that they don't realize that's the skill they've got. That's something I realized in myself, until someone tells you. You're pretty self-aware in that regard, but there's going to be a lot of people that have done stuff in the past
Hmm.
and realize, oh, it's something as simple as like photo editing, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of people edit photos all the time before they upload them, but you'd be surprised how many businesses want photos edited. I found an old client request from like 2020 that I don't know why I didn't do. I think I was too busy or something was happening at that time in my life. It could have been because my dad was ill or something that I declined it just out of time. But somebody essentially wanted me to go and edit 130 photos and simply just adjust the brightness and the contrast, and I declined it at the time. But that's 130 photos, and at the time I was doing like an image, creating an image from scratch for like £100 minimum. So imagine what I could have charged for 130 photos. Um, I was too busy at the time, but it just shows you there are people out there that want skills, digital skills that you would think are quite basic, but you could package that, you could market yourself in a particular way, and you could get the hell out of
Hmm.
here, bro. You know what I mean? Like you really could, especially for young people that haven't necessarily got mouths to feed. There are opportunities for you to try new things and risk way more and take a dive into these arenas
Hmm.
and see how you fare. And there's plenty of courses and skills out there. Like there's free material on YouTube. But if you want a bit more accountability, then I do suggest finding a decent course and paying for that kind of group. Uh, I'm in a few now, but I'm in Pivot to Tech, which I mentioned before. They've relaunched 2.0 kind of edition of their course, and the community is really good and it's quite gamified. They use a schools platform now, which is everybody. As soon as I joined schools and I followed that guy who created schools, his ads are like everywhere, bro. So I'm like, oh my god. um, but that's essentially like an educational slash community platform where you can go through course material together and is gamified. So there are certain aspects of the course that might be locked away or benefits that might be locked away based on how you progress. Um, so yeah, I'm rambling, but just joining something where you're accountable that you've got some accountability, sorry, is really beneficial as well.
For sure.
Uh,
You know
but
what?
it's
Creative
tough, isn't
people,
it?
they
It's
need to
tough.
realize that like selling to businesses is completely different to selling to people. Businesses, like business owners, might know how to do something very well, but that's not their problem. The problem is time and like headspace. So if you were to offer them, for example, they know how to edit photos, but they don't have time to edit 130 photos. So that's the value, is to be able to hand that over to someone and not have to spend time doing it, but also the less time they have to spend on giving feedback, that's really valuable as well. So they want
Mm.
someone that's gonna, they just look at their whatever portfolio and they're like, yes, okay, this guy will get it done, and it'll just be done without feedback or without much feedback at all. So yeah, for sure, man. Like, I guess if I think
It,
about, yeah, go on.
I was going to say, it extends to people that don't have a skill at all. Like, don't be afraid to learn something. Um,
Oh, for
I think
sure.
there's barriers of entry of people saying, "Well, I don't know how to do that, and I wouldn't know how to do that." And you'd be
Mm,
surprised in like 6 months that you could be
mm,
pretty proficient
yeah,
at anything if you just planned and knuckled down and studied.
yeah.
And that's like something with web design. Like I know how to design websites, but like I want to like know it inside out. Even Photoshop, I've designed stuff on Photoshop since I was 13, but that's because I've been self-taught and I've messed around with it. But I also have like a course that I will start it soon. But after what I'm doing at the moment, the course I'm on now, I want to like get deep so that when someone asks something, I don't have to go and look it up. I just know, you know, I just know. And you want to be that proficient where you just want to be an expert at something. And now there's a lot of digital like platforms that have their own accolades that you can slap onto your portfolio as well. There's a lot of web design platforms that Webflow is one, for example. They have so many courses on there, and
Mm,
also they can give you accreditations as well that you can put onto your portfolio based on your
right,
exam
right.
results and stuff like that.
Yeah. Webflow, like, that's the thing as well. I don't know if people think this way, but if you want to make a website, like anyone can make a website now, right? Like the barrier to entry is very low, so you could just use Squarespace or whatever, and that will be fine for someone just getting started, or they don't need a sophisticated website. But then those medium or larger businesses that, for whatever reason, they really value the website being either looking really slick or having certain functionality, maybe e-commerce functionality, whatever, that's where you would go to Webflow. And as soon as someone's going to Webflow, they're going to be more prepared to pay, you know. And
Yeah,
Webflow is something that, like, as a business owner, I'm not going to put aside 300 hours to learn, right? So I would much
yeah,
rather
yeah.
pay someone who already knows it to just get going with it. So,
We've got to think. You've
yeah,
got to unplug though, like from the internet in that regard as well, because when you say, "Oh, anyone can make a website," that's true. But there's so many people that haven't, but already have businesses. Like there's a sandwich shop that's near me. I love their sandwiches. I love their food. It's great. I went on their website to order once, and their website looked shocking. Right. And part of my like learning and my practice is I built a website for them.
right, yeah,
Right. So it's a lot slicker. It's a lot smoother. I've learned from it. And when it's finished, it's almost done. I might just pitch it to them. If they don't want it, that's fine. I've learned something and I can slap it on my portfolio
yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
If they do want it, well, there you go.
yeah,
Pay me.
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know? But that's it. And it's part of your learning experience to do that. But there's so many, I mean, you can check it out yourself, anyone who's listening. Just check out any businesses that you visit on the high street in your local area
Mm,
and then check their website out and see if it matches. Like if it's a great business, but their website sucks, or even if it's a poor business and they could benefit from a better website,
mm,
you could make one if you're into
mm,
web design, or if it's
yeah,
graphic design you're doing, and you can see that their graphic, their calling cards are atrocious, or the posters in their windows are horrible, or whatever it is, or their sign, even their signage. If you're a logo designer, their logo sucks.
yeah,
Like, how long will it take you to make them a cool logo? Sweet. Walk in there, be like, oh, listen, I'm doing graphic design, whatever. I made this for you. What do you think of it? Oh, it's great. You know what I mean? It's very simple to just
mm,
if you're learning. If you're already looking for clients and you're quite established, maybe doing a lot of free work like that isn't really what you
yeah.
want to do. But
You could just pitch with your portfolio then.
100%.
One thing, bro, that I really value is having good branding. And like you were saying, not just a logo, but an actual branding pack. I wouldn't say I have the highest level, like for the front row. The highest level is like, this is the tone and this is the messaging and this is the way we speak and all that stuff. I don't already have that level of it, but I've got more than a logo. Like I've got, typography and three different colors to use and how I use them. And I've got a pattern that works. And just those things make everything easier. So like I made my own website. No, I hired someone to do a website on Framer. But because the branding is done, it's easy for it to look good. Or like I just was working on slides for a video that I was making, and just slapping the branding onto the slides, like khalas, it just looks professional straight away.
Yeah.
So I didn't need, because I got the branding done as a like proper package thing. I don't need to hire a designer, for example, to make those slides look good or the website look good. It's just about implementing the existing branding onto it. So yeah. One thing I want to say is, this is something that I couldn't get my head around before, but now obviously I get it, is businesses also view money very differently to people or consumers. So like, right now, yeah, but before I was like doing business full time, I would view £100 as really a lot of money. And even in my personal life, like, yeah, it's a lot of money and stuff. But for a business, even for our business, like we almost see £500 as like, yeah, like if we value something, but we're not sure if it's going to work, we kind of like toss £500 at it like it's nothing, right? And a lot of businesses think like that. Like £500 is quite insignificant. So like, you might think that's a lot, like that might be a quarter or a fifth or something of your salary. But for the business, it's like, yeah, we're making 30K a month and we're spending 15K a month, 18, 20K a month on different costs. So what's another £300, £500, as long as they value it, of course. But yeah, so there's a lot of these just perspective shifts that you need to make, because you're going like, if you're going from a creative person or just someone with these kind of different digital skills, like you call it, you're not thinking like a business person because you're not a business person right now. But yeah, that's an interesting perspective shift. What got you?
You'll see that a lot when you work in like any sort of organization where you're part of any sort of procurement, or invoicing, whatever. You'll just see these big numbers, but everyone in that meeting just doesn't really, don't even blink twice when they, I'm in a, organization at the moment, and it's like, yeah, that's going to cost about £250,000. Maybe we can do it next year and we'll plan it in and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nobody here seems to be batting an eyelid, but we'll just go along with it, right?
If that was my household,
Yeah.
I'd be drilling into that and thinking, how can we get that down? Can we get that down to 50K?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah.
But
Were you
what
gonna say,
pushed
though?
you to jump more into the services thing and do the portfolio, and like what's the impetus?
The same one it's always been, I guess.
Escape the
It's
matrix.
part of yeah, in that regard. I really need flexibility to not be tied down here. Whether it's moving permanently to Tunisia or not is still up in the air, but I still need to be able to go whenever I need to go. Like I need to go right now, frankly, but I can't. I'm going to try and go in September. But that issue of I can't, that can disappear a little bit when if I take this full time. At the moment, I'm freelancing on the side of a day job, but I don't think I'm far off the ability to take this further and take it full time, really. And that
Inshallah,
isn't
man.
just based on my social media accounts and stuff like that. Like actively going after clients, whether it's through Upwork or whether it's through Indeed or whether it's through LinkedIn. That's the other side of it. 90% of my clients at the moment coming directly to me, but that isn't necessarily what I want, in the long
Yeah, of
run. And
course.
also I want, I want some clients that a lot of clients need, to need someone to retain for long-term kind of projects, whether that's content management, whether that's search engine optimization or graphic design for marketing or whatever it is, or just some people, for example, that have e-commerce, you could build the shop, like you could build a whole shop for them, and you could put the initial products they have on there, and then they don't even want to manage their products afterwards. They don't want you to hand it over to them. They just want you to be the website guy.
Hmm.
So they will email you saying, listen, we're going to put these new products out, this is how much we have of it inventory wise, just put it up on there for us. And that is a straightforward request,
Hmm.
but it's something they don't want to do, and they'd rather pay someone to do for them. And then there you go. But
Hmm.
I ran that whole operation with Pure XI. I did the whole, posting, packaging, inventory, designing, website, marketing. Like that was a one-man band essentially. My mum helped me with some knitting and sewing back in the day.
Hmm.
My wife might help me with some packaging here and there, but I had a few people come on and off in terms of marketing, but 90% of it was all me, bro.
Yeah.
And then that was it. Like, I remember a few years ago, some people were asking me like, "Oh, I'm starting a clothing brand. How do I do it?" And I'd give them some advice. Someone else give them some advice. Where do you get manufacturers from? Give them some advice. That kind of thing. I was like, well, if people want advice, then people value advice, and if people value advice, then I can charge for that advice, or charge for a service where I help them with that. Um, that's it. Just price yourself, because someone could say to me, well, just do it for free. Bro, you don't understand how much time I do not have. Like, the fact that we managed to squeeze out Mine Heist every week, most weeks, is a miracle, to be honest. It is getting that to that stage now. It's like, especially now, the kids getting older and more demanding. And I'm sure you're feeling it as well, bro. Um, we just don't have time. And unless you're going to make it so that I can not do something else that's going to feed my kids in that time that you've allocated, then it's not going to happen, is
I
it?
think like, especially like also with the marriage advice thing we were talking about before, people don't. I feel like a lot of people are not going to implement your advice unless they've paid for it. And it's like, because when they pay for it, they're committing to themselves that they value it and they're investing in it, and so now like they have a much more incentive to like follow it. But if they didn't pay, it's almost just like, yeah, like toss away advice, just like, yeah, here's some advice. It's like, it's almost like, yeah, entertain me with your opinion on XYZ. Like that's a very different
Yeah.
thing to, okay, I've got this problem, what do you advise in order for me to solve it? And so
Yeah, that.
that's
Yeah,
why, like with the Curious Cat, it's kind of like those people asking for advice, marriage advice, or whatever it is. It might just be like, yeah, like I'm, I'm young and single, and I'm interested in marriage. So let's just like talk about marriage, and oh yeah, I could
yeah,
get your take on marriage and this guy's take, and
yeah. It's there's like 10 or 20 a day that are coming through sometimes, and to sit, like, you've got to realize, like, I will do it when I remember, and like, sometimes I'm on my phone, I'll do it. I'll just be like, oh, walking somewhere or whatever, and I'll answer a question quickly. But I'm not giving you like the attention that you might want, and then to complain afterwards, I haven't answered your question or you haven't given it. Well, this is free. Like, I can't. But if you
yeah.
if you
I
were
mean,
to
no one's
if you were
entitled
to
to it, really.
Yeah, 100%, exactly. If you value it that much, um, and I'm not trying to big up any qualifications I have. It's just purely experience. It's purely experience, and I know that actually some people don't have anyone to ask from experience. Um, some people have like very North African centric questions, about marriage and North Africans and stuff like that.
Mm.
Um, Someone asked me today, why do so many North Africans marry outside their culture? Frankly, I was like, I don't know any North Africans I have, to be honest. So that's down to
Mm.
you. Like, that's your experience. I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to fake an answer. I'm very blunt. If I don't know anything, and I've learned that from like a lot of fitna that's happening in the Dawah scene. Really, I have, because I've seen a lot of people that just delve into areas that aren't your expertise. Like, I've noticed that a lot with the genocide in Gaza. People are talking now about politics, like real large scale political things. But all they've ever been known for is dawah on the street. And I'm kind of like, yo, you're speaking from a place of real authority here, without the credentials to back that up. And I've noticed
Mm.
a lot of da'is on YouTube now. I don't want to make a sweeping comment, but there are some that like everything must be there must be a video about. You know, if there's like an assault that's happened and it's on the news, or if there's like a rape thing, or if there's a dawah thing, or there's a religious issue, or there's a political issue, or there's a government this, or there's a war going on, like da'is will comment about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's necessarily good. There's a lot of da'is obviously in New York and stuff that don't. They kind of stick to their expertise. But when
That
it's,
is
I think
best.
it's the
Yeah.
problem of YouTube, isn't it? To kind of get the views constantly coming
Yeah.
in.
Well, what's consistent is that if you talk about current issues, things that are happening now, and maybe they're a bit polarizing or they're a bit extreme events, that's just a proven playbook to grow, right? But it's not like free. There's not no downsides to it. Like you said, the downside is you could speak out of turn, you could misguide people, you could not know what you're talking about and then spread that, not know what you're talking about to other people who then also talk about it without knowing what they talk about. I guess, with a da'i or like a sheikh who has Islamic knowledge, Islam talks about everything, if you like. Like Allah and the Prophet ﷺ address all things in life. And it's like morality touches everything almost. And so it's like, that's maybe where they would say, well, yeah, Islam has, or I don't like that, Islam, Allah has something to say about this,
Of course.
But sometimes it's like if you're going to give a fatwa on, I don't know, gelatin in, what's it called? Supplements or whatever, gelatin. Then you
Yeah.
need the fiqh and you need the chemical, whatever, engineering or
Yeah.
the medical thing. So you need both sides sometimes to even comment on something, even from a morality point of view. So yeah, it's true, bro. But I don't know. Yeah, that's the difficult thing, because you could also kind of justify it by saying, well, the dawah needs views, and therefore I need to do what it takes to get the views.
It's I think there's a big issue of like the Dunning-Kruger Dower effect right now. I really do. I think that anything that happens in society, there's just go on your YouTube recommendations or subs whatever, and like everyone's doing a video on it. I'll give you an example. There was the don't know if you saw those Manchester airport police assault.
Yeah, I thought this should be something you'd comment on because of your vast experience in the field.
Well, yeah, like I did briefly, and I could more, but it really surprised me to see a lot of even people who position themselves as du'at or whatever talking about. Now I get it. Yes, the people that were subject to that police
Why don't you explain what happened briefly?
brutality, whatever. So a video came out of police in the Manchester City Airport. This is the first footage. It was there was four Asian guys. I think they're Pakistani. I could be wrong. I remember someone saying they were, but essentially, the first video that comes out is already in the midst of the confrontation or whatever. One of the guys is on the floor. His mum, I believe, is on like over him, like trying to shield him, and it looks like he's been tased. So his arms are on the side, and whilst he's been tased, this police officer essentially kicks him in the head. So like fully kicks him in the head, and then just before his mum actually grabs his head and pulls her out of the way as he goes down to try and stamp on his head.
With
So he
big
misses,
boots
but
on.
the intention is clear. The intention is clearly there. The police officer tried to stamp his head, right? And then that same officer, I believe, like turns around and goes. He's still got his taser out, and he I think he assaults someone else with a taser, so smacks him down. And there's another video, I think, where they like spray somebody who's just standing there recording. But the video just
Wow,
starts
really
in that.
got out of control.
Yeah, that video just starts with them. And they're also armed officers as well. So this particular officer should be carrying a rifle of some sort and a handgun, but also using a taser. So at the moment, they're only using the taser. They're not using any of the like lethal weapons. That's the first video that came out. It was going everywhere.
Yeah.
And then people were saying things that like, it made us Muslims look stupid because they were saying stuff like they weren't familiar with the process of how someone gets arrested. Like, for example, they would say, well, the boys are innocent because they're not in jail. I was like, well, that's not how the system works. They are arrested and then they're, interviewed and then they're released, maybe under investigation or bailed, and then they might be charged at a later date or whatever. It's not like people do crimes, they go straight to jail. Like, you're missing out the whole process there. So to go around flaunting to the right wing mob that, oh well, anyway, this certain things, certain levels of expertise or whatever that you might need. There's also, so initially when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, this is awful. Like, how is this guy going to keep his job? Like, it makes no sense. And I also follow, I don't follow it anymore, but I used to be part of like the Reddit police page. So you could tell that a lot of people on there were police officers, and they've got even labels to say that they are verified police officers or unverified, but it's all UK policing, right? A lot of them on there, 90% of them were just like, yeah, this guy's losing his job. There's no way you can justify that, etc., etc. And
Which is true, right?
in my, well, this is a person from my opinion. This is just based on the defense that they're probably going to have. There's a second video that comes out, which is kind of like how the incident started. And this video shows one of the guys is, I think, paying for his parking, maybe a parking machine. Two police officers come behind him, and it's quite blurry, but it looks like they kind of immediately grab him and like as if to go and arrest him. He starts resisting, and then it just kicks off. Some other guys, I think his brothers maybe are there as well, and they just start fighting the officers. So I think one of them allegedly punches a female officer and breaks her nose, and it's just chaos. So it shows that this is how it started. Now, there was a statement put out by the police in Manchester, essentially suspending that one officer, the one who did the kicking and etc., and also, investigating it, referring it to the Independent Office of Police Complaints, which are an external body that investigate these kind of things. So investigate allegations against the police. It hasn't, to this date, hasn't reached any criminal proceedings against that police officer yet. However, being a police officer before, I know now what the defense will be. I can see if there was any thinking behind this and it wasn't just pure brutality, I can see what the defense might be. Now, this is the defense. Does it mean I agree with it? No. Does it mean that I'm on their side? No, let's not get it twisted. So I need to clarify that, because I know people go crazy if I say it. But this is the defense. The defense is, I'm a police officer. I've been tasked to go and arrest this person for whatever. It could be something that's happened. Okay. Now, maybe the first mistake is they went in heavy-handed initially to go and arrest the person. I don't know what the allegation was. I don't know what the report may have been. I don't know what words were exchanged at that cash machine thing that they were paying. Because it does look like, they've gone in straight away and tried to arrest him physically straight away. Firearms officers are kind of known for that. I've worked with firearms officers before, and I'm like, why are you being so rough? Maybe that's just what they're used to. Is it acceptable? I don't know. I arrested somebody before, just for anecdotal reasons. I arrested someone before that stole a car, had them on the floor, very compliant. Okay, I actually chased them across the street and eventually managed to. Actually, he got hit by his own car, funnily enough. It's a very weird story. He jumped out of a moving car, running, and then the car was just rolling. And as I got near him to catch him, the car hit him because it rolled back into him. He's on the floor anyway. He's not going anywhere.
Oh, man.
Right. And I'm sort of lightly on him, like I'm lightly on his leg, just so that if he starts to move, I can feel it. And I'm quickly there. The firearms guy comes along, even though I didn't ask for him to come along, and he just puts his knee on his head. I was like, what the hell are you doing? I just shoved his knee off, because there's no need, number one. Why are you doing that? He's already on the floor and he's not going anywhere. He hasn't made any move. Like, you could stand there and he can start to running, then do something. But so, like, there's always this notion anyway that they're kind of a little bit more, maybe it's the gun, maybe they're compensating something. But anyway, they where was I? So the defense, yes. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. So the guys have fought back. quite clear there's an altercation has started and they're getting punched up and whatever from each angle. There's a moment where an officer gets her nose broken, I believe, or punched in the face. At this point, you've identified that these guys are ready to just fight us. It's not normal, really, for police officers to be assaulted, really. You're going in for an arrest. If this person now is starting to fight you, even though you might have a lawful reason to arrest them, then the situation, the paradigm has changed now. These guys are capable of assaulting. What else are they capable of? How far will they go to escape this arrest? Because I need to effect this arrest, and they could be a danger for whatever reason. I'm not saying they are or not, but you're given some information, aren't you? Could have been any report. This person has a knife, or they said something on the plane, or whatever. There's some sort of threat. Anyway.
Assalamu alaikum. I mean, popping in here just to mention the 4 things that were pillars of, alhamdulillah, the success that I've had so far. 1 is coaching and mentorship. That's having people who are a little bit ahead of me in life guide me and make me really question the next moves I'm doing and whether I'm truly committed to my actions. Number 2 is accountability. Having somebody check in on me and make sure that I'm doing what I said I would do every week. The 3rd thing is brotherhood and good support. They say that you are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So having good people around you. And number 4 is purely having that drive, that hunger, that mindset of driving myself forward and becoming above average, making sure that my ambitions and my reality and my work rate are in line with each other. And these are the 4 things that I've combined in my Muslim men's community, the front row. If that sounds interesting to you, if you're looking to crush your goals this year and really become that average and really become that above average person, then click on the link in the description and you can join the waitlist to find out when it opens next. See you around. And this is like a rare situation for a police officer, right? Like where they're going to arrest someone and they actually lash out.
Yeah, 100%.
So they're not used to that, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like lash out at a particular capacity. I tell you what, there's different types of resistance. Okay, there is like passive resistance, which is like verbals, like "oh no, leave me alone." There's like maybe active resistance, which is like "no, get off me." You're not assaulting the officer, but you're like ripping yourself away. And then there's like, I maybe get the terms wrong, but there's types of resistance. Maybe there's like aggressive resistance, where now you're on the offensive.
Yeah.
So you're not just like pulling away and running away. Now you're like, no, get off me, and you're trying to attack people that are the police officers that are arresting you.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's different categories there. Now, this is an armed officer. He's got guns, he's got weapons, whatever. He hasn't actually drawn them, but he's used his taser, which is like a non-lethal way of subduing. But a taser can only really deal with one person at a time.
Yeah.
Right? So what's happened is he's seen his colleagues getting beaten up. He's suddenly got 3 or 4 people that are, aggressively resisting, shall we say. And he's had to make a decision. He's tasered one person. He's dropped to the floor. Now, the taser, the way it works is that as you're holding it, the person is being jolted. As soon as you let go of the trigger, he relaxes and he can move himself again.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you hold on that taser, a secondary officer comes, handcuffs that individual, and then you can, deal with But you can't do that if you're on your own. So how do you taser someone? Make sure he's then subdued, arrested, under handcuffs, and then deal with other people.
Yeah.
So I think this is his. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This is the thinking, and it's good to know how they think so that you know how to defend yourself professionally, right? Because Muslims are just saying all sorts of stuff without really knowing the logic here of what's going through their head. And this is what a lawyer would do. The lawyer would see this and try and defend, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
The lawyer that's defending the Muslims or defending the members of the public in this regard would also have a defense and say, well, actually, no. Anyway, so defense is, as I'm tasing this one, if I let go and try and deal with the other guy, who's also allegedly violent or whatever, I can, being actively aggressive on the other end, I'm also going to get assaulted again. So I need to absolutely subdue I need to subdue them to best as I can, one at a time. That means knocking them out. If there's a threat to my life now because they're actually assaulting us, they've broken that officer's nose. I'm also carrying weapons as well. So if I get knocked out and there's a gun on me, what if they just take it? And I know there's a big what ifs and that can be argued in court. I'm just talking about their defense. So he's made a decision, I think, that I'm going to knock this one out.
Really?
Which is why
is that
I kicked
allowed?
him in the head. It's about, so use of force is how you can justify it in court. All right. Use of force has to be reasonable. Now, if that was an individual situation, think about it like this. If that was an individual person that you're arresting and you've tasered them and then you've gone to kick them in the head, yeah, you're not going to get out of that one. However, if you could say, well, if I didn't knock him out as best as I could, I would have been at risk of 3 people jumping on me, 4 people assaulting me,
Yeah, yeah.
punching me up, just broken her nose. What are they going to do to me if there's 3 or 4 of them? You know, and that I think is why he did what he did in terms of trying to knock that guy out, even though really you could kill someone with that kick. You know, you could kill someone with stabbing on their head.
I mean, definitely lose
Maybe
teeth.
Yeah, maybe he thought his life was in danger at that point. I don't know. Or legitimately, yeah, maybe he is just a racist, you know, and it just came out and he wanted to abuse his power. But he's gone for that one. As soon as he's moved from there, he's gone to someone else and told them, I think, to get on the floor, and he's hit them with the taser, which is, I've never seen anyone doing that, hitting someone with a taser. It doesn't make any sense to me. But it could be that he's run out of what's the word?
Power
You can only
juice.
shoot a taser twice. You can only shoot a taser twice, and then it's kind of redundant until you reload it.
Well, you have to recharge it.
You have to. There's cartridges that you put in it. If it's
Like
the same
battery.
ones that we used, they're prongs, isn't it? So it's like a pack of prongs that I think it has to be charged as well. But there's like an
Yeah, yeah.
ammunition kind of prong
Okay.
pack, and
The
also
thing that goes
for
into
it to
the
charge.
skin.
Yeah. So essentially, you know, the long-winded answer is the one I've given, but the short version is, I think at that point he's going to say, I feared for my safety in my life. I didn't know they've already assaulted one officer. They're going to assault me next. There's 3 against 1. I had to
Yeah.
subdue him beyond just a taser, because the moment I let
Yeah.
go of the taser, he's coming right back up. The
Yeah,
video
yeah.
clip that we first saw, however, is just him being tased and being
Yeah.
kicked in the face.
Yeah, yeah.
Without the rest of the context.
Looks very bad.
You know?
Yeah. No, you know what, bro? Like, if you just said it like this, you said, okay, police were going to arrest a guy. The guy resisted to the level where he was basically fighting with them physically. And then, now it's a fight. Now, if the policeman knocked him out, now it's like, yeah, they were fighting. That's fine. But it just, I guess it's the fact that the guy was on the floor and he was being tased. And now on top of that, you're kicking him in the head. That's the bit where it's like,
of course.
yeah.
That's
but
the
like,
thing.
exactly, like I wouldn't think about, or I wouldn't know about, or think about the fact that, okay, there are other people that might attack you. I was just thinking, this guy is tased on the floor, so why kick him now?
Yeah.
You know, but you explained the thinking.
Yeah. So when you let go, and that's what people need to know, is like, if you let go of that, he is back in control of his body.
Yeah.
So unless you're going to be able to, it's a bit difficult to do, and I haven't seen many people achieve it quite well, where you're tasing them, and then, because if you touch them whilst you're tasing them, you'd also get a bit, you know, shocked up as well. So it's about, usually what happens is you don't just tase on your own, you're tasing, and then you let go and someone quickly arrests them, puts them in handcuffs.
So
to
was
do
this
it all
guy
on your own, one-man mission?
Yeah. Were the two policemen, or one woman and one man, and was the woman out of the picture because she got her nose broken or something, and he was on his own? Is that it?
Like that first video, you can see you can see what looks like blood dropping on the floor.
Yeah.
Well, I can't be sure. And you can see like holding her nose back and forth. The video's a little bit low quality to tell if she's bleeding.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, broke her nose, but she's just all over the place. She's not really assisting, and
yeah.
To be honest,
so
this
it's
is my
kind of like
gripe.
3 or 4 on 1.
Yeah, and I'm talking from memory now, and I think the situation might be a bit more dynamic. I think more officers do come along. I don't know. I can't remember.
But you couldn't you argue that overall, like, depends what the guy is like being arrested for. If it's not that serious, okay, the guy's like in the UK, you could find him somewhere. Like, isn't it better to maybe let them get away than kick a guy in the head and stamp on his head?
Well, think about it this way.
Yeah.
So let's say there was a suspicion of a particular offense beforehand. It could have been anything, by the way. It could have been something super basic, like, I don't know, a verbal altercation.
Okay.
Maybe he called someone a homophobic slur hypothetically on the plane. Okay. Now, I wouldn't agree that means that they should be like physically restrained immediately.
Yeah.
However, there is nothing really preventing. I mean, if you're going to put someone in handcuffs, you're going to have to hold them. So if they've gone up to someone and put them and like held their arms, put them in handcuffs, and immediately the person's gone resisting, or they've started resisting. Now the situation changes when he tries to assault, or allegedly. I have to say allegedly because it hasn't been proven in court of law. Even if we can see it on video, I don't like saying it for sure. But let's say allegedly assaulting a police officer, that becomes another offense. Now that offense is something they also have to be arrested for. Do you understand how it stacks?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not like, oh, well, all they did was swear. Why are they getting
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
physically? Well, they've just committed another offense in the
Yeah.
process of being arrested of that one. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that requires that.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's
and
just
also,
it's complicated, isn't it?
it is. It is. I think it's just because I can see, obviously I've been in situations where I've had to justify use of force. Now, for myself, I've never, ever in the 5 years of policing, never swung at anyone like a punch, kicked anyone, because it hasn't crossed my mind to do so, even though there have been situations where I could probably justify it. You know, I'm more of a grappler, so I'll hold someone and like try and take them to the floor or
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, that's the
But
ideal,
to
isn't it?
actually just like, it doesn't make sense. Like in my head, it looks bad. It looks bad. Now, the only time I might have done it, I haven't done it, but the only time I might have thought of doing it is if I thought my life was in danger. I need to fight for my life.
Yeah.
Someone coming at me with a knife, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
But there's also like, you don't want to take risks as well. Like I had a family to come home to. There was a time where, I had a burglary and the guy had a knife on him. Am I going to take a chance and ask him politely to put the knife down? No, I'm just going to wrestle him to the floor because, and that's it. There was no complaint there. He wasn't like, he knew that he had a knife and he was willing to do harm with it. So
Yeah. And
it's not like I
sometimes,
was armed.
like I I debated this with my brother like a few times. Like some of those videos and stuff, incidents that happen in the US with police shooting people, basically killing people, right? And you can see that it just all went out of control. It just like, it's almost, okay, maybe, I don't know what goes through the policeman's head. Maybe he's been taught that the world is a very dangerous place. Anyone could have a gun, or everyone has a gun. They could shoot you. Like maybe that's kind of going on in his head. But you could just see that it's like, it's not under control. It's not like, okay, let me think. Let me shoot this guy to death. That's not what's happening. It's all kind of like wild, out of control. And that's why I was saying that if this incident doesn't happen often to a policeman, they're not going to be calm and collected, are they? It's a new and a dangerous situation for them, they're thinking.
Let's caveat all of this, what we've said actually, because in terms of police in America, I mean, if you watch Bowling for Columbine, you know how scared they are. There's guns everywhere, and it's like a Wild West. Everyone's like, pow, pow, pow. But there are definitely 100% police officers in the UK that are obviously racist, that can't wait to have a fight, are prone to violence, and they search for it. They goad people into it because they want to entertain themselves. 100%. 100%. And I've seen it with my eyes, and I've stopped it when I can. And some of them are like, you can tell they've got an inferiority complex, and they'll lash it out on the person who, and they'll look for an excuse. They want someone to give them a reason.
Right. Yeah.
Some of them. I'm not saying all of them. 100%. I'm not going to say all of them, but some of them. I remember having one where they teach you all these techniques, right? And some of them have like names that make them sound more, acceptable, like a palm strike, right? Or a strike. They'll call things strikes. They don't call them a punch. It's a bit more technical. A distractionary strike, or whatever you want to call it, or bladed stance, all this stuff. It's like, no, you just punch a guy. Like, what are we talking about? But there is this. These are all pre-approved. Like they've been through all sorts of legislative kind of assessments to approve these techniques. That they have to train you, because then it all goes back to accountability kind of board, right? But I remember one guy. It was in a hospital, and he I think he'd overdosed and he was like assaulting nurses and stuff. Or trying to. So we had to restrain him whilst the nurses would and the doctors would like try and whatever medicate him or whatever it is, like try and. I think he's taken some sort of psychotic drug.
Mm.
And I remember, bro, like all we had to do was hold him, you know, and that's all I was doing, just holding him in place. And one small, skinny officer guy, who I didn't like anyway, as I went to go and see one of the nurses, I come back and I just see him just punching this guy in the ribs. I was like, "What are you doing?" And I remember reporting it and thinking, obviously, I took over because I thought this guy can't. Okay, he's obviously psychotic. This officer, I don't understand what his issue is, and maybe because of his size, he thinks the only way he can subdue this person, or he's getting frustrated. He's just letting it out on the guy. And I'm thinking, this is what I mean. It's people like this. However, I've seen the opposite as well. I've seen where someone's getting arrested. He said something to one of the officers. The officer's gone up like this to punch him. And another one has grabbed that officer's hand and shoved it away, stopping him, you know. So it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag. Should it be a mixed bag? No. Are officers aware? Yeah, they are aware of each other's tendencies. How is the relationship with internal professional standards? It is very adversarial. You know, people say, "Oh, how can the police investigate police?" Those departments are very adversarial. Funnily enough, normal officers, frontline officers, don't like professional standards departments. They don't get on with them.
They get in the way of their job. That's how they would say it, probably.
Maybe, yeah, or they're taking away these officers, whatever it is. Like, I remember sitting in the room once, a new officer came. She just started. She was on our team for a bit. They asked, some of the guys on the team asked, "Oh, what do you want to, like, where do you want to go in the police?" She goes, "Oh, I really want to go to the professional standards department." That's the last time most of them spoke to her. They didn't want anything to do with her after that.
Right.
Which shows you a culture of, you know, it's a bad culture, basically. It's a bad culture. And there's a huge rift between the culture that's on the ground front line and the culture that is maybe, you know, wearing the suits and shaking their hands. And there's like a big gap because the ones on the front line are obviously on the front line dealing with all the crap, and all the crap floats to the bottom, right? And the ones at the top are like all the ones shaking the politicians' hands and shaking all the community leaders and, "Oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that." And they are pretty squeaky clean up top. At least they show that they are. They're not, you know, they haven't got capacity to go and enact violence or brutality in that regard. But it's the ones that at the bottom that are dealing with the crap every single day. And let's be honest, they are dealing with crap every day. Everything they go to is bad news and awful news and people that want to fight them and people that robbed someone or killed someone or raped someone or whatever it is. So it's all negative. They're the ones that are, you know, where all the ill is going to fester. But yeah, I think this is a big tangent we've gone on, but that's my observations from it. But going to the why we started this is that I just don't think in general we need to be aware not to make ourselves look stupid with this Dunning-Kruger thing, thinking we're experts in everything and we should comment on everything and everything deserves our commentary. I get it that Islam touches everything in terms of the morality, but if everyone spoke in authority about everything, then there was no point in assigning everybody roles in society. You know, there were generals of the army of the Prophet ﷺ, and they were generals because they had the accolades and the Prophet ﷺ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously, but the Prophet ﷺ appointed them in those roles. You know, there were people that were, you know, in charge of Beit al-Mal, for example. There were people that were in charge of this and people in charge of that. But if everybody had an authoritative opinion about everything, nothing would get done.
Yeah.
And this is something that permeates through the democratization of, you know, through social media, and everybody's, you know, got the same capacity to put their message out there. And I am absolutely guilty of doing so in the past, 100%. And I'm trying to be more aware of that. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So what are your thoughts, bro? You always make me ramble, and then the sound thing looks like it's just me.
You're always thinking of the sound thing.
I am, bro, because I talk too much.
I'm a good listener. I don't know if I am, but I like to say This sound thing shows I'm a good listener. Um, yeah, man. You know what I like the format of like a sheikh or whatever, like in a discussion with a specialist on another topic.
Yes.
Like that's good. That's fun. I think Mad
Yes.
Mamluks do that well. They've got there's three of them. One of them's like studied Sharia and stuff, so he uh he can chime in on that side. So that's really good. I kind of wish we had that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can one day. We do sometimes. We used to, but it's something that like personally I'm trying to do now as well, especially with my social media. Like there are general things about morality that obviously I can talk about. There are general things about what everybody talks about that you can maybe talk about or make dua for or whatever it is. Policing, for example, you know, I tweeted a few things about that incident,
Mm.
but I was actually quite surprised, and I'm not trying to big myself up here, but I'm surprised that despite the fact that a lot of people knew, they weren't necessarily too interested in my clarifications or even wanted my opinion on it. They would rather cash in on the hysteria of it all, which I was a bit like, okay, that's interesting, because there were people that I DM'd that had made statements. So personalities or du'at or whatever that were saying things that made us kind of look stupid, like we didn't understand the system, you know? And I DM'd them, I was, hey, listen, this is why this is like this. This kind of makes us look a bit like
What
dumb. Like,
makes us
let's not
look
say
stupid?
that.
I'm trying to think of what you mean.
Okay, for example, I mentioned it earlier, but assuming that the civilians that were in that incident
Mm.
are completely innocent preemptively
Mm.
because they're just not in jail
Okay.
or they're just not arrested or they've been let go. Well, you don't want to create a situation where you're going to get laughed at afterwards when they may get
Right.
something. It's just that's not how it works. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. Like,
Okay, got you.
calm down. Don't speak of such
Yeah.
authority like, oh, look, they're innocent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because if it was the other way around, and this is, we need to be, we need to be consistent in our approach. If it was the other way around and it was a Muslim guy that assaulted someone, yeah, we would be biased and we'd be inclined to be a bit more defensive, right?
Yeah.
But you got to remember, we're in a society that all eyes are on us,
Mm.
especially with a lot of rhetoric that's floating around now. And you don't want to be a public figure representing a Muslim community, which you are, whether you like it or not. If you've got thousands of followers and you're this speaker or this person, you've got accolades, to say something that then reflects on all of us, you know. There
Yeah.
were some like smaller, much more small accounts that were clearly Muslim, but like saying stupid things
Mm.
like, well, the police in this country aren't a religious authority, so we don't have to obey them. They're not Shari'i rulers. They're kuffar, so we don't have to listen to them if they want to arrest us. I'm just like, you stupid idiot. Like, you do realize you're not having a private conversation with a friend of yours. You are in the
Mm.
public domain. Now, he's not a person of authority, and not sort of somewhat anonymous account. I don't know who that is. But to then, if a right wing person sees that, they're
Yeah.
capitalizing on that. And this is what I
Screenshot.
mean when I say don't speak about things that you don't have authority to speak about. That is
Yeah.
such a stupid statement that is going to get, sure, it's a 20 follower account or a 10 follower account or whatever, a tiny account with maybe
Mm.
an egg profile picture, but the name is a Muslim name, you know, and that will just get capitalized on by anyone
Yeah.
who wants to just blow it out of
By the
proportion.
way, is the egg still a thing when you create a new account?
I'm not sure, actually. I need to double check.
I
I just
wonder.
spoke from memory.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, bro. You know what? My default was because I saw about this on Twitter. I do go on Twitter quite a bit, but I just don't tweet. I just read stuff instead of
Yeah.
saying stuff. But the Twitter me 1.0 version and 2.0 version is different in the sense where, like, I don't tweet now, right? So
Mm.
before, I think my default was like always to like react and like mention my opinion or mention a comment on an event. But this time,
Yeah.
because that's not my default anymore, I just like looked at it and I was like, wow, that looks really bad. But then even when I like told my wife about it, I actually said, like, I don't really know what happened, like what the background, the context is, but it looked really bad and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's what I said.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And that's like pretty straightforward, right? Like, just to not comment on something until you know what happened exactly.
Well, it's the issue of being shamed for not doing so that I think people fall into as well.
You think people
It's
are
like if you
thinking
don't
about that and
comment,
worrying about that?
yeah, if you don't comment about this, then you must be complicit. If you don't say,
But
X, Y,
that
Z,
starts at a certain follower
w-
count, right? It's like, okay, maybe if you
possibly,
got,
yeah,
I don't know, you have to have at least like 30, 40K kind of followers for that to matter.
yeah. Someone did it to me recently, but I can't remember what it was for. It was some very obscure issue. I think it was capitalism. Is it me and capitalism? No, someone did it to Omar Suleiman, for example. Someone was trying to, some like left wing Muslim liberal person was trying to criticize Omar Suleiman by searching his Twitter for capitalism and saying, well, look, there you go. You didn't speak about capitalism. So, and then someone did it to me, but I can't remember what it was. It was some really obscure non-issue that I don't even know why I would talk about it, but they were shaming me for not ever talking about it. I'm not saying it was like the plight of the Muslims or whatever. It was just like a topic. It wasn't like Sudan, may Allah protect them, or Palestine, may Allah protect them and aid them. It wasn't something like that. It was something very obscure and like non-political.
Yeah.
But they were shaming me for never talking about it. I just thought this is what people feel guilty of, because there is a cancel culture. There is if you don't mention every single thing, but then at the same time, like, let's be honest. Okay, I'm going to be honest with everyone right now. I'm not too clued up on the Uyghur situation. There are people that are. There are people that are. You could shame me for not tweeting about it all the time, but I will refer to people that are educated on it and raising awareness about it. But if you were to spend all your time talking about every single situation that there is, then you will never know every situation deep enough
It was a
to a
full-time
level
job.
of speaking about it with authority,
It's a full-time
Now, it's
job, bro.
important, I think.
Researching in order
Sorry?
to then be able to speak about it.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm saying it's a full-time job. If you're going to speak about every
right.
issue, then you're going to have to
Yeah.
research every issue in order to then speak about every issue. And you'd be tweeting like every second. So it's just not realistic, is it?
I think it's
Like, it's very logical,
I'm
Yanni,
trying
that you're
now.
not going to talk about everything.
I'm trying now to just refer to those who are making that their thing.
Speciality, yeah.
Here's an expert. Yeah, that's their speciality. Like medicine, for example. Like, how many times I've been attempted to talk about health and fitness, but I'm not that guy. I've been working out since I was 17, and I might not look the type, but I've been active since then. I've had a few down times and I've got some up times. Does that make me an authority? Like, even if you've been doing something for years, I would never go and start saying, this is what you need to do. Here's the 5-point plan. I'm going to sell you on my course. But there are people that I would obviously refer to. And that's the way you need to think about it. Like, how confident are you as to go and start talking about gym and how to get a 6-pack? Right? You should see everything else like that, because you don't have accolades like that. A lot of fitness influencer, their body speaks for itself. Okay, this is how I got like this. Maybe a political analyst. Well, this is who I worked for. I worked for this reporter. I worked for this agency. Here's some work I've done over the years. Like, this is my thing. Look at all the work I produced. Um, uh, I was going to say something, but I don't want to. But yeah, du'at and stuff. Likewise, this is who I studied under. It's all accolades. This is how our deen is transmitted through, that kind of tazkiyah process. So I don't want to be that guy that I'm going to be questioned on Yom Al-Qiyamah about silly statements that I made with no authority. Now, if you were to ask me about policing, maybe I'll speak about it. Ask me about graphic design, I'll speak about it. Ask me about web design, I might speak about it. And I think that's what I kind of want to focus on, is something I can benefit people with, where I do actually have some credentials or a portfolio to share beyond just tweets.
What about our
Like, here's my
podcast?
portfolio of political analysis, and it's just tweets.
What about our podcast?
Or a podcast, yeah. But it's a danger.
No, but I'm saying our
podcasting as well.
podcast is like talking about a lot of different topics.
Yeah, yeah. But in a way that this is how it affects us, and this is what I've seen people say, as
Yeah.
opposed to this is the fact.
Yeah.
This is the
So it's
fact.
about the tone of, are you coming from a place of authority or not?
Yeah, I know we may it seems like we recycle topics, etc., but you know, we're talking about things that we're going through with a level of, I'm an authority about how I've dealt with the situation and my experience with the situation, of course.
Yeah.
But to speak about it as like it's my way or the highway, that's a bit of a, some people talk about the dynamics between, you know, certain nations with such authority. It's like, well, you were just making dawah videos telling people to not smoke and not have sex before marriage like last week. Now I need to take your political analysis about the way the world is. And it's like, whoa, let's slow down. you know.
Yeah.
Or like Trump, when Trump got assassinated or whatever. Like I fell into that a little bit. It's like, oh, the conspiracy
Fight.
theories go
Fight.
crazy.
Fight. Yeah.
Like flying around. Oh no, that wasn't because the police usually they can stand on sloped roofs, and this is actually an inside job, and this is why, and whatever. And it does get a bit crazy. And I said to someone at the end of all of that night when it happened, I said, at the end of the day, whatever you want to say how and why it happened, the result is still the same. If it's true and if it's fake, it's still the same, because they'll still just wrap a narrative around it. Whatever narrative
Yeah.
Trump wants to wrap around it is the one to be wrapped around it.
True.
Same with 9/11. Like, I've got my opinions on 9/11. You've got your opinions on 9/11. Didn't change the war on terror. It's still the same result, no matter how it's orchestrated. And we have to deal with the fact that it's whatever it is exists, whether it's a truthful narrative or not. We have to deal with that narrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how we.
There's a lot going on, bro.
Navigate.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on these days.
Yeah, man.
There's
What's the connection, man? The connection's gone really silly at the moment.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we can transition into that curious cat question, or is it not going to work with this topic? Yeah.
We're gonna have to delay it for another time. But we kind of caught up on a few current events, didn't we? But I think it's a decent reminder, isn't it, that pump the brakes a little bit, because the whole world is watching us. They've got eyes on us.
I never got.
You're already doing it, bro.
I never feel like that. Like, I don't. Even when I was in the UK, I'd never had that feeling like eyes are on me, and I've got to give a certain impression, like.
Well, beyond that, then I should clarify by saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us, and we say things without knowledge.
Yeah.
Even amongst each other, throwing labels at each other like you are a Zionist, or you are a kafir, or you're not a real Muslim, or whatever it is. It's like, did someone put a gun to your head and tell you to say that? Like, is it mandatory for you to make that ruling? Who are you?
Yeah, I guess it comes down very nicely to many of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about, to controlling the tongue, and if you control what's between your legs and what's and your mouth, then you'll go Jannah, basically. As simple as that. And so many people will go to the hellfire because of their tongue. So and that just doesn't just come down to I don't know, let's say something serious like takfir, or like I don't know, ordering giving a bad judgment in a courtroom. And it also goes down to everyday stuff, which is like backbiting, or slandering, lying about Allah. Obviously that's a really serious one. So it's just so heavy, these things. Like what you say is so heavy, but it's mad how something like Twitter, especially Twitter, is like very easy to put something out there. You don't need a photo, you don't need a video, you don't need to record it, you don't need good lighting, you don't need a good microphone. You just need a phone and like 140 or 280 characters or whatever. And so the thing that is so heavy and that very easily will take you to the hellfire, may Allah protect us, that thing has become so easy. Like, oh man, this is combination that can lead to disaster for those who are not careful. So may Allah protect us.
And you're going to see, like, you can go on my Twitter now, and like I'm trying to tidy it up and clean it up, to be honest, but you could go on there and find out contradictions to everything I've said just now. You probably could, but I'm trying to remind myself, and I need reminding as well. And I think we all do, because it's
Yeah.
very easy to slip into
No,
it.
before this
I
episode comes
remember,
out,
like,
you can clean it up.
huh?
Before the episode comes out, you can clear it up.
Yeah, I actually did. I already I used the software to delete like 4,000 tweets, and it wouldn't delete the rest. I need to get something else to do the rest. I do that every few years, to be honest, anyway, because I'm a different person. And there's a, what's it called? Have you ever used the Internet Archive? It's called the
I know
Wayback.
of it.
It's
Yeah.
the Wayback Machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've got a Wayback Machine where it's like archived old pages, and like I can see my Twitter account was archived a couple of times in like 2013, 2014. And it's like, yo, this is like pre-marriage me. And you can see like just at least one page of tweets. It's like, oh, cringe. It's true. Like, I don't want that stuff out there all the time, because I'm not the same guy. I turned 31 yesterday. I'm like
Mashallah.
thinking about this stuff. Like, I'm not that guy, bro.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
My kids, bro. My kids gonna grow up see my stupid hot takes. So they man can read now. Like, this is the thing. Like, one day, bro, because we try and reading. He had some struggles with reading, but like one day it just clicked.
Yeah.
And I just read stuff. And I'm like, whoa. We walk in the street, he's like reading stuff. I'm like, I have to be careful. You know, the other day, bro, he came up to me, come sit next to me. He goes, Dad, what does gay mean? And I was like, what? And he goes, this kid that local boys down here go to the park, goes, last one to do whatever is gay. Goes, what does that mean? And I was like, so I thought 7-year-olds don't talk like that anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I thought they don't use that as a derogatory thing anymore. I thought it's been ingrained in them not to. I was like, listen, we'll talk about it later.
The later never came. Later means when he's like 13.
But this is what makes you aware, like very aware of this kind of thing. It's like we're making a digital footprint that can obviously be looked at by our children and stuff.
I think that'd be embarrassing, to be honest.
But you'd be embarrassed.
Yeah, like if I just think about my siblings or some of my friends looking at my old Twitter, my current Twitter, like it's all embarrassing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Bro,
I mean,
Allah protect us.
I don't know how often, like, if they ever would be interested in watching Mind Heist. Like, I don't know if I would bother watching my dad when he was alive. But like now, I'd be like, oh my God, if my dad had Mind Heist.
Exactly. Yeah, you'd probably be like 10, 20 episodes in.
Oh, bro, I'd have it on replay. But that's the beauty of it, I suppose. And I'd like to think that maybe one day that's what it could serve a purpose for.
I remember before you said that you said something like there's a wisdom behind pictures being haram and stuff because of the whole when someone dies and you just keep revisiting it. And I thought that makes a lot of sense to me, you know. That makes a lot of sense to me. Like,
same with parents. You know, with kids. You know, like our children are growing up.
Yeah.
And like Suleiman, for example, he's 7. I look at him now, I treat him like a 7-year-old. But then I'll be going through my phone and I'll see a picture of him at like 2. And I'm like, oh, it's like I've lost a child.
Yeah.
And you feel that.
Yeah.
You feel like you've lost a child. But
that's true.
You would have never felt that if you didn't see that photo, because it's been such a gradual growth.
Yeah, that's true. Like, you know, honestly, I fully get that now. You know, when people say, like, I miss when my kids were like 3 or whatever age. Bro, I fully get that now. Like, it's like, yeah, I relate to that feeling of like, I don't want them to grow up. Even though some ages are like
as well.
very high maintenance ages, but you still like don't want it to end. It's weird.
Well, there's a difference. Like, when you say that, a lot of people say in terms of like the practicality of being able to look after a younger one and an older one and that thing. But the actual memory is really fuzzy. Like, if you were to talk to me about, how was Suleiman when he was 2? the memory of it is so fuzzy because it was such a gradual growth that
Yeah.
I don't see him as two. I see him as, but then the pictures and the videos are what are very inorganic and very unnatural. Because when you do see that, it kind of blasts you back to that time, and you're like, well, that baby doesn't exist anymore. You know, it honestly feels like losing, and that's why I think. I mean, it hasn't stopped me from taking videos and recording them, but it does, make me think, oh yeah, this is unnatural. I'm sure it's the same with couples as they get older, you know, um, or yourself. You see yourself as a younger person. We're not really,
Yeah.
that wasn't something you were capable of doing back in the day,
Mm.
of seeing a younger version of yourself. It'd be such a gradual thing that it's
Mm.
only key things that you'd be like, oh, my hair's white now. I remember when it was black, you know. But
Yeah.
that image of your, like my dad, for example, if I didn't have photos, I'm sure a lot of people felt like this. Even the details of your father's face, you would start to forget with time.
Mm.
You would kind of get a general idea, but the reason the memory is so ingrained in our heads, and I'm sure it's the same thing for your mother. You
Yeah.
look at a photo of my dad, and it's like it's been a few years now, but as soon as I see that photo, it's like, boah, it's like someone just stabbed me in the heart.
It's true. Yeah.
Honestly,
It's true.
it feels like it just happened again, and suddenly, all the memories are flooding back. But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't see the photo.
Yeah.
It might happen here and there now, but not like when I see a photo
Yeah.
and then you just see
For
another
sure.
one, another one, and it becomes like this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, what created for that, were we?
Yeah. Life is
Oh,
short. Too short to remember.
oh.
Okay. Let's end it there, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. السلام عليكم. See you next episode.
That's